With over 126,000 square kilometers and close to 1 million inhabitants, the Western Province currently stands as the largest province in Zambia. Outside the provincial capital of Mongu, the Western Province relies on agriculture for its economic profit through fishing, cattle rearing, and rice farming. Harboring numerous lagoons and floodplains, the area is afforded with attractive scenery. There was a time when the mighty Zambezi River meandered through the Lwaziland as an announcement of yet another bounty harvest to the small and medium-scale farmers whose lives are dependent on the rain-fed water. In its path, the mighty Zambezi created the Barotse floodplain, a flagship to the Lwazi culture and tradition. Western Province lies in the agroecological region, which is one of the worst affected by climate change. It has over the years experienced reduced rainfall and is considered to be a drought-prone area. The trend has had a devastating impact on the livelihood of the vulnerable communities. 58-year-old Induna Mulasu Musiwa Musasa from Natonga village in Mongu district has a first-hand experience of the challenges.
My name is Induna Mulasu Musiwa Musasa. I live in Natonga village in Chief Nawa Silunda's area. I'm a farmer specialized in rice growing. From the beginning, we had a few challenges that we could control, but for now, all our rice fields have no water and the land is dry, such that we are unable to cultivate well.
Not only was the land so dry with no water for cultivation, the people of Natonga village did not have the right tools for farming. Like it was not difficult enough to cultivate the dry land without proper farming tools, the land was also heavily covered with weeds. Stumbeko Liomba from Natonga village may be young, but vividly remembers how things were when she was younger.
From the year 2000, our canal was flooded and we were suffering because it was not cleared. We used to farm in the nearby bush where we had a bit of harvest and could only cultivate maize and cassava in the basin because of the flooded canal. Now that the canal is cleared, we have started planting so that we can get something to eat with our family and also take our children to school.
The permanent secretary explained that the livelihoods of the communities in the Barotse sub-basin have been disrupted by unpredictable floods, droughts, and intense rainfall, as well as changing socio-economic patterns.
The challenges which the communities are facing: one, the communities in the sub-basin, their livelihoods have been disrupted by one, unpredictable floods, like you are aware here in Western Province, droughts, intense rainfall, as well as changing socio-economic patterns. These are some of the challenges which really affect the daily lives of our people.
In response to this situation, the government of the Republic of Zambia, with support from the World Bank and African Development Bank, has launched the Pilot Program for Climate Resilience, or PPCR.
The PPCR project in Western Province, it is one of our projects today we are counting on in terms of poverty alleviation, to try and help our people. As you are aware, climate change is real and there's no doubt about it. It is a project which is funded by World Bank. As of today, the project which started in 8, we are now in 13 districts of Western Province out of 16, meaning almost the province is affected. And we are happy because the PPCR, in its program of scaling up, they are beginning to realize that Western Province definitely is vulnerable and it is hard hit by climate change.
This program is aimed at helping vulnerable communities of the Barotse and Kafue sub-basin adapt to the problems climate change has brought in sustainable and environmentally friendly ways. Not only does the PPCR seek to lessen the problems faced by the communities, they are also building the adaptive capacity of individual communities by allowing them to decide their own sustainable projects.
And people have come to appreciate because they see what we are doing now. It is what is coming from the same communities. They propose what we are implementing. In other words, what they're implementing themselves, they come from, those are their suggestions.
Natonga Village is just one of the communities that have benefited from the PPCR project in the country. Eugene from Mongu District explains the impact that these projects have had on the communities.
A year and a half, we used to go in the community, meet with them to identify what resources they have, what kind of climate change hazard risks they have noticed, and then we came up with some projects. And then after we identified a number of projects, then they chose as a community, I think in Rwanda we chose piggery, we chose gardening, and also we chose poultry. And when we looked at these projects, we saw them as feasible, as adaptable kind of projects, because these are some of the things that they were doing in the past, though they were not paying attention to them. They were rearing pigs, chickens, and growing vegetables. So we made that, helped them, sat with them to help them write the projects. And those projects were given to the PIE here and then in Lusaka, and they were adopted, and they have become projects which I think they are sustainable. Because when you look at what they are growing, it is something that they are familiar with. We do not want to identify things for to counter climate change with something that they don't know, but something that they live with, something that they have known and reared before. So that is how we have worked with PPCR.
Mr. Kavimbi, from the People's Participation Service, a local non-governmental organization in Natonga Village, explained that people were failing to plow in the past because the land was clogged with too much water.
My name is Kavimbi. I am in PPCR and I live in Natonga Village. We had a meeting with our people where we discussed the challenges that the people of Natonga went through, which was hunger. The Natonga area had a lot of water and people had nowhere to do their farming activities from. Natonga Village was also hit by drought, and the maize we planted was destroyed by the excess heat, and the cassava got rotten.
Another project that is being funded in Sioma District is a gardening initiative to improve the livelihoods of Mukuyoyisa community in Sioma.
The problem we faced before we had this pump was that we had to fetch water from a distance, which made it difficult for us to water our gardens. Although this pump is heavy, it is really helping us a lot to water our gardens, and our children can now also help us water these gardens.
When you look at poultry, you look at piggery, vegetables, these are a fast producing kind of projects at a very low cost, because these are some of the things that they have been doing before. Secondly, it is something that the people, they are able to adapt easily to do, because they have been doing them in the past before. And then to climate change, it is something that they have been doing. And we know the chickens, they adapt easily to every climate in the floods. And when you look at the pigs, when they are taken care of, they produce a lot. So despite floods or droughts, they will be able to generate a lot of money and they will adapt.
To ensure sustainability of the interventions, these projects are developed through a community demand-driven approach, where communities are responsible for planning, managing, and implementing the project, with support from the government and local NGOs.
We sat down as a community wondering what we would do for ourselves to sustain our lives. Luckily enough, PPS came to our aid when the water had dried up. Previously, from 2014, we were experiencing hunger, but this time around in 2016, we are no longer suffering. People are now farming without difficulties. They have food to eat and crops to cultivate, such as rice, sweet potatoes, maize, beans, and other crops. Everyone is busy farming. Changes can now be seen.
Through PPCR, the government has been using methods of adaptation, which are capital investment projects or infrastructure projects.
I'm in the Kazungura goat rearing group. We have 40 goats, in which this 40 was enough for all of us. So we need to benefit from this because it's our project. I received these goats, and because of that, I need to empower someone who will also empower the next person. What this means is that 10 people from one group are supposed to benefit from this project. And also 10 other people are waiting to receive the goats and benefit from this project. That means each person has to receive 4 goats for this project.
The drilling of boreholes in the community has helped people fetch water from not so distant places and has also helped in the prevention of human-wildlife conflict.
This project, there are about 3 boreholes, but treated as one project called the Mutema Water Adaptation Project. We have the first borehole, which is where we are right now at the school. And then the second borehole is in the main village, Ilwendo village. Then the last borehole, which is part of this project, is at Kapasa village.
Before these boreholes were introduced, we faced a lot of hardships such as drawing water from the river, which was almost 4 to 5 kilometers, and the deadly crocodiles that attacked and killed people.
Not only the humans, but even their domestic animals, because there have been high levels of human-wildlife conflict in this area. As you are aware, due to the effects of droughts, even the natural ponds, they have dried up, so wild animals are going to the river, and by so doing there's human-wildlife conflict.
These crocodiles and hippos were a lot and made it difficult for us to fetch water. If someone wanted to draw water and saw a crocodile, that person had to wait by the river banks until the crocodile went back in the water. So while others fetched water, others were on the lookout for the crocodiles close to the river banks.
When the climate change, the PPCR project started, people began to look beyond their nose to the future, and that is what it has brought. So that today there is order and everybody wants to make the money, and it is something that is going to help them to generate more income and take their children to school and meet other different needs. In terms of income generation, I don't think if people take this project seriously, there will be starvation or there will be poverty. It will be kicked out.
We're now cultivating in these fields where we can find what we can eat as well as take our children to school. We have planted rice so that after harvesting we can sell it in order to sustain our living. There is a great change compared to previously when we did not have a PAM. We were planning to sell some vegetables and give some money to orphans who do not have pens to use at school, so that other families could benefit too.
This project which has come, PPCR, started in 2013 and also up to running up to this 2016. It has done a good job here, and also we have been benefited from this canal. Nevertheless, because it's still going on, but I know that this canal, when it get finished, our children and our older families will benefit from this canal and even go to school, because we shall be planting anything that we want, especially more cassava, rice, tomato, and everything that we need. So we'll gain more money from the plan of PPCR, which has brought to us. We thank it very much.
Only halfway through PPCR's program, and yet each community is already seeing the benefits. Climate change is irreversible, and the impacts are excessive and more intense with every passing day. As the sun sets over the floodplains of Western Province, there's a glimmer of hope for people such as Situmbeko and her 2 young children. The projects by the government have put in place measures to uplift the livelihood of the vulnerable communities that are worst hit by climate change in Zambia.